Hello everyone, this is King Gratz here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. And once again, I'm doing another overview of the playoffs right now for the NHL first round. This is going to be part two of this playoff breakdown through the first couple of games of every series. And once again, I've got three series in this video that I'm going to be going through. If you guys enjoy this type of stuff, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and tell all your friends and spread the message out there. So to begin, we have the Dallas Stars versus the Colorado Avalanche, and I already mentioned that this series was one of the highly anticipated series that I think people should watch this postseason because of the storyline going into the playoffs, and this series has not disappointed. Through 3 games, the Stars are now leading 2 games to 1, and this is really due to a pair of overtime wins that they had over games 2 and 3, but the results have been very interesting. If we look at analytics, particularly on Dallas' side, they've done a very good job of really getting into the nitty-gritty areas of the Avalanche's ice. They've gotten a lot of shots in the high danger areas, and they've also gotten a good number of shots in the mid-range, and they've done very good on the power play as well. They've also controlled a good chunk of possession. They haven't fully been in the offensive zone most of the time. They had some troubles in their own end, but some of these numbers are still kind of skewed from that game 1 blowout loss of, I think it was 5-1 the final score to the Avalanche, so you can't really blame them for that. Not to mention that the team is still dealing with injuries. They don't have Miro Heiskanen, they don't have Jason Robertson, and they've been playing with guys that have been, up and down. They did bring back Tyler Seguin finally, and he's been a great contributor. They've gotten good work out of Jamie Benn. They've gotten great stuff out of Rube Hintz, Matt Duchene. All those guys are still working very well. And Jake Ottinger has been very good in net for them, so that's been a really big improvement. If you look at Colorado's side of things, shots have been a little bit more balanced. They are getting some shots into the high danger areas, but they've mostly been getting offense from the perimeter, notably in the mid-range and in the long-range distance. And of course, this is mainly because of the fact that they've got Cale Makar as their top defenseman, so I don't blame them for doing that. But at the same time, they need to probably get more shots now in the middle of the ice. If you look at their overall possession time, they have been leading Dallas when it comes to offensive zone territory, and they have had a little bit of a better time in controlling things on the defensive side. But ultimately, we have to consider the fact that 2 overtime goals by Colin Blackwell and Tyler Seguin in games 2 and 3 are really the major difference makers here. Especially considering that Colorado very well could have had a stranglehold in this series, and they kind of just let it go. I mean, the goals given up by Mackenzie Blackwood weren't very good to start with. The game 1 was a very solid win for Colorado. In game 2, the team kind of looked like that they just, I don't know, let's say you were playing a video game, your controller died and your character just stopped playing. That's kind of looked like what the Avalanche did in that game. And then in game 3, that overtime winner just kind of looked like a soft goal given up by Blackwood, in my opinion, so he's got to be better for them. When it comes to the numbers between Blackwood and Ottinger, these goalies have been relatively balanced. They've both gotten very good performances so far, and for Ottinger, he rebounded from his game 1 performance. For Blackwood, he has been good, but considering that those overtime goals have been kind of a stain so far, it's been a little bit more tough to kind of understand how the Avalanche could maybe win this series. Of course, I initially had Dallas winning this, but I was afraid that their talent depletion because of injuries might actually impact them in this series, but they've actually done a pretty fine job so far with a little bit of extra luck on their end. Of course, for Blackwood, I would expect him to rebound after game 3, and game 4 is a really critical game for this series. Of course, if the Avalanche lose game 4, then they would be down 3 games to 1, and then that's a really big hole that you got to get out of. For Dallas, they're in a good position now, and they're riding off of a lot of momentum from those 2 overtime wins, so we'll have to see how things go from there. Alright, series number 2, we have the LA Kings versus the Edmonton Oilers. This series has definitely surprised me. The Kings so far through 2 games lead 2 games to 0, and they have done a very solid job offensively. If you look at the Kings' overall shot counter, they've been getting shots from all over the ice, and as I mentioned in my playoff prediction video, they've gotten really good contributions out of both their veterans and their young guys who have stepped up quite greatly for them. They've been getting great shots from the mid-range, probably more shots than most teams have had this postseason. They've also been clicking very well on the power play. As you can see, they have been getting a lot of offensive zone time, and this is kind of skewed a little bit by the special teams because the Kings have done a very good job in maintaining puck possession in the offensive zone and not allowing the Oilers to do much in getting the puck out of their own end. For Edmonton, they have been getting some offense in a number of areas, especially from the point, but considering that their offense has really been generated mostly by the usual suspects in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, this is kind of a, let's just say, a hit on their team's credibility, especially in game one when McDavid basically willed them to a tie until the team blew it in the last minute of play. Then that's a big loss for them. And then the team basically got steamrolled in game two, losing 6-2 there. They have been getting some offensive zone possession, but defensively the team has struggled. As I mentioned on the power play, the Kings have been definitely beating them, and the Oilers defense has just not been the same as what it was last postseason when it was exceptionally good. Of course, there's still a lot of time in this series, and for Edmonton, Game 3 is going to be a very critical game for them to get back on track. We have to consider that for the Kings, Darcy Kuemper has been a fantastic goalie for them throughout this season. He has really given them something that they haven't had in quite some time, and that is actual adequate goaltending. So far through the two games, he doesn't sport great numbers with the .863 save percentage and the 3.5 goals against average, but honestly this is only because of the fact that game one was just an absolute shootout and McDavid decided to go beast mode. Everything else really has been good for Kuemper. He's done a very good job at maintaining rebounds and getting good crucial saves for the Kings. The Kings defense has also really helped him out as well. For the Oilers, on the other hand, of course, we have to consider the possibility of either Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl breaking out in a big way. We've already seen McDavid and how he can basically command a game for himself and will the Oilers to a tie, but of course we have to consider that their supporting cast needs to help them out. And what was really big for them in 2024 was that they were getting meaningful contributions from outside of these two guys. So we really have to question what exactly is going to happen with the team in game number 3. It is reported that Stuart Skinner is not going to be starting game 3 and the Oilers are turning to Calvin Pickard, who is the team's backup right now. Interesting choice. We'll have to see because Skinner has not been great this postseason. I don't know if Pickard is going to be necessarily a viable option for them, but we'll have to wait and see there. And for my third series, we've got the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. This series has really taken a significant turn as the Golden Knights won game 1 pretty handily, and then Minnesota has now basically blown out Vegas in back-to-back games, and they now lead 2-1 after 3. If you do look at the underlying numbers, Vegas should be actually commanding this series, but they have underperformed in actually getting good quality shots. If you look at them, they have been getting good chances in the high danger area, but they've also had a very big diet of shots coming from the mid-range and from the point, which is kind of uncharacteristic of other teams who have really focused on the high danger areas. But for Vegas, technically, with all the analytical numbers, they are basically one of the better offensive teams this postseason. They have dictated most of the play in this series. They have gotten a lot of time in the offensive zone, and they've also done a very good job in keeping the puck out of their own zone. That has really helped them out, especially when it came to game 1. But the team hasn't really gotten much good performance other than that. They haven't been great at converting their chances. They don't have too many goals in this series, especially after what happened in game 1. And they basically have been held to just 2 goals since the end of the first game. And Minnesota's done a great job of holding them back. If we look at Minnesota, they haven't, as I mentioned, done a great job of controlling possession, but they have been able to at least maintain their opportunities, and they have taken advantage of special teams only recently, as the team didn't score their first power play goal until game 3, with a pair of them from Kirill Kaprizov. When it comes to the underlying numbers, as you can see, Minnesota has been getting good shots in the high danger areas. They've also been catering a lot of their shots to either the point or to like the sharp angle, notably on the left-hand side of the screen here. Basically, they've done a good job of getting major shots on target. But I think the only way I could really explain this series and how it's gone so far is that we have to look at 2 players in particular. From Vegas, we have to look at Adin Hill, the guy who basically got really hot in 2023 and helped the Golden Knights win their first Stanley Cup, has not been the same goalie this season. He has struggled in quite a lot of key areas. He's arguably been one of the worst goalies in the postseason so far, and to this point, he's given up 10 goals in this postseason, and a lot of them have come from some non-dangerous areas. There have, of course, been 4 goals in the high danger slot, but that's been mostly because of the fact that in Game 3, Minnesota did a good job of getting into the paint and getting some shots in high danger areas, but there's also been a number of shots in the mid-range that Adin Hill has let go, and maybe some of these are weak saves or shots that probably should have been stopped by Adin, and he needs to do much better for the Golden Knights, especially because after Game 3 he actually did get pulled for Akira Schmid for the 3rd period, I believe, so that's obviously not a good look on him, and he needs to rebound quickly for Vegas if they want to get back into this. For Minnesota, of course, we have to look at Gabriel Kaprizov, who was injured early in this season, along with other guys like Joel Eriksson, for example, and since Minnesota has gotten healthy again, they have been able to rally around their team and have really improved their offense as of late. Kaprizov in particular has been very good in the postseason. He's gotten at least 4 goals in this playoff series so far, and he's gotten good shots in the mid-range, and he has done a good job of also getting into the high danger areas. And as I mentioned, he did get those 2 goals in the power play in Game 3 for Minnesota and has helped them start converting more of their chances there. And he's also been shooting at a very high shooting percentage at like 36%. Now, Minnesota has also done a great job of actually capitalizing on their chances, as the team as a whole is I think shooting at like 18%, which is like well above the league average at this point, so that's really big. Of course, eventually that's going to have to come back down, especially if Vegas finds their footing again, but this series looks like one that is kind of surprising, and I don't know if Minnesota can keep this up, but if they do, then we might be in for a serious upset here in the first round. But anyway, guys, that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.